Hello everybody. Today, my talk is how to pursue your passion, and this is a particularly important topic because we hear it many times, but I want to make the argument today that pursue your passion is one of the most useless pieces of advice. And why is that? Why is it that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and other successful business or political leaders, they say pursue your passion? It's not bad because they're wrong, it's bad because they don't tell us how to do it or exactly what passion is. So today I'm going to talk about three things. Number one, my own journey to pursue passion. Number two, what misconceptions people have when pursuing their passion. And number three, actually 2 easy steps you can do to follow and find your passion. So my journey starts at the University of Pennsylvania. I was accepted to study finance at the Wharton School, and I thought my life was complete because I have 2 parents who work in finance. I live in Hong Kong, and so I'm on track to be one of the investment bankers. So when at university, you have 80 choices over the 4 years to take any kind of courses you want, and I thought I was going to major in finance because I was at Wharton. And I first realized that finance was not my passion. I had the ability. I did not have the passion because I was studying the same finance course with my friend. I asked him, can I borrow your cheat sheet? A cheat sheet is a sheet where you can write your formulas down legally for the exam. And he said, I don't have a cheat sheet. And I said, what do you mean you don't have a cheat sheet? And he said, because I don't need to memorize the formulas, because I spend so much time reading about this anyway, if I forget the formula in class, I can just prove the formula from first principles in math. And I thought to myself, how am I ever, we have the same mathematical ability, but do I spend my whole day reading about finance? No. And so I realized that ability is important, but passion is what takes you to the next level, and it will help you win the race in the end. So finding that finance was not my passion, I tried to major in different things. I took a selection of courses from every different department. In the end, I actually ended up with 2 degrees and 5 majors. You can see I'm super greedy because one of my majors is politics, philosophy, and economics. So I couldn't even choose between the 3, so I just took a combined major. And so my mom always says, why are you spending over $1 million on a college education? What are you studying? And you're not even studying finance, so why are we paying so much? And I said, no, we bought 1 degree, I got 5 majors for four majors for free, so it's a great deal. So that's what I learned in business school, is to how to get more bang out of your buck. So here's me at University of Pennsylvania, 5 majors, I still have no idea what I want to do. So when you don't know what you want to do, the easiest thing is just to do what everyone else is doing. So my next job, I tried to get an internship in an investment bank, so I was working in Hong Kong. It was 9 to 5, but it was 5 a.m. And then I just thought, what is the point of life? I'm just sitting here. There's aircon, but that's about it. So my second job, I took a job in management consulting. And so why do I have this list of 6 industries? It's because when you go to one of these institutions, it might be an American institution, it might be a British, it might be a local institution. You sort of have parents or societal expectations that if you have the ability, you are going to do one of these 6 things. And so by default, I wasn't doing finance, not doing investment banking, so I thought I was special and better than everyone else, so I went to the second one, which is management consulting. So I don't take pictures when I'm at work, but here's a picture of me rowing in New York City. I'm enjoying my time as a management consultant. But over time, 2 years when I was in New York working there, I realized that prestige is totally an illusion. What does that mean? It's because my friends really didn't care where I worked, and the people who are not my friends, they cared about where I worked. And so why did I care about these people who don't care about me or they're not my friends? And so prestige I put in brackets here, in quotations, because I think it really is only prestigious to people who think it's prestigious, but in reality, we derive our own meaning in life. So that was my first step. I decided to leave my management consulting job, and so what else could I do instead? So I tried to do something a little different. So my next step was to move to Hong Kong, and I thought, I've done finance, I've done consulting, what can I do? And I thought maybe the third way to pursue my passion is to follow the footsteps of people who have made it in Hong Kong. And whether you like it or not, real estate tycoons are considered successful in Hong Kong. And I thought if I was going to be successful and passionate, maybe I should try real estate. So I'm working in a real estate fund. This is a building that we helped to deconstruct and reconstruct a shopping mall that's right next to the World Trade Center and the Excelsior. And So I was there one day, we were finishing off the deal, and I was tasked with collecting all the contracts that we had to make sure the tenants were going to move out soon. And so when we closed the deal, my colleague asked me, he said, "Oh, how do you feel about finishing this deal?" And I asked him, "What do you mean, what do you feel? What am I supposed to feel?" And then he said, "Oh, don't you feel like you've accomplished something remarkable? You've contributed to having a building in the Hong Kong skyline. That's a major achievement." And I said, "You know, what I did today was I took a box. You asked me to count the contracts. I counted 29 contracts, and then I put it back in the box. What do you mean I'm building a building?" So I realized that once again, because he had the passion, he saw it as something meaningful, something bigger than what it was. I didn't have the passion. I was trying to do someone else's passion, and to me, I told him, today at lunch, I had a fried rice. Inside, there were these green peas I didn't like. I was counting them out of the fried rice, and I showed him my pile of peas, and it's the same thing. There's peas, and then there's contracts. Like, what's the difference? So a few months later, I left this company too because I was trying to live the life of someone else. This was a third attempt. And so something really funny happened when I was working in real estate was that in real estate, there's the tycoons who bid the auctions. There's also the people who, the business owners, because they rent the shops. And then number three, they're investors. So they're people with excessive wealth of themselves or other people. And during my time at this real estate fund, no one ever asked me, or, you know, what do you think of this real estate? What do you think of this investment idea? Instead, my manager was always saying, oh, you know, Jeremy went to Warden, so that he's going to be handling your Excel model. And so all the clients, they would come in, and they would never ask me what I thought about the business or the real estate. They would just ask me, how do I get my kid into Warden? How do I get my kid into the Ivy League? And so I just realized, you know, since no one cares about my knowledge in real estate or finance, maybe I should just do education instead. And then the word of mouth started continuing, and then I think 2 months into my job, these managers and the founders, they started bringing their kids to work on Saturday, and I had to tutor them. And then so the conference room of the school, of the office, was my tutoring center. And so I actually made more money on Saturday than my day job. And so I just took that as my last sign. I need to quit. I need to do education. So, fourth step, I moved to education, and so if I wasn't going to live a glamorous life like this, I was still in the mode of, you know, glamour and prestige. So I decided I wanted to pursue education in my opinion, a famous way. So I actually went to become a celebrity tutor in Hong Kong, teaching English mostly. And so this job is, you know, one of my friends kept telling me for, you know, many years, you should do this, you should do this. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I was the only one he convinced out of his friends to do it. And so this job is actually really hard to get. So in Hong Kong, there are two major companies. There's A and then there's B. I interviewed with both, and then they both gave me a job. So I went to company A. So I went to company A, I worked as an assistant for one of the major tutors. I played his videos, I did some marking, I made some notes for him. And then 6 months into the job, I just thought, you know, when are you going to put my face on the bus, or I'm just gonna be here? So he said, you know, you can keep working hard and we'll think about it one day. And I realized the whole thing was a scam. He had tried to scam me to sign a contract so I couldn't work anywhere else, and then I would just be there. So because I had turned down company B before, 6 months later, I went back and I said, just joking, I changed my mind, I'm here. So I went to company B, and then it was not that simple. They ignored me for weeks. So I called them, I called everyone in the company, and they ignored me for 3 weeks. And so I thought, oh no, I've lost this whole path, what can I do? And so I was not gonna let them say no to me because I really wanted to do this job. And so, my first step, I realized that the company, all the numbers in the directory, they started with the same 6 digits. It's 3, 1, oh, actually don't call them, but they started with the same 6 digits. So I just called. You know, the founder is called person A. I started from 00 and I went all the way to 99, and then I just called a person every day and I talked to them and I said, oh, I'm actually doing this. Can you transfer me to the right person? I'm looking for the assistant manager, secretary, whatever. And then they kept ignoring me. They took a message and I never got through. So, and then I was like, oh no, I've quit my job. I've been been an assistant for 6 months. What do I do? So all the tutors, even the founders, they actually work as a tutor too. And so I took the timetable of the tutor, the founder, and then I just looked, where is he going to be? And so I just went to every single class that he was, because there's only 2 doors, and so one door you don't use it. So I just waited there I went to every single class for 21 days, and then he said, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. And then the 21st day, he said, okay, I'll let you talk to someone. And then I got the job. And then he didn't put me on a restraining order, so that was great. So I got the job, this is just some photos. But there was one interesting thing. So he offered me a job. I had to wait until July to start the job because it's an academic cycle. And so I just thought to myself, the contract is so many years. I will be in my 30s when I'm done with the contract. What in my life do I really want to do that I've never done before and I need to do when I'm still young, a young adult? And taking a deep breath, in my moment of truth, I just reflected on my teenage years, and I knew what my dream was. My dream was always to be a Abercrombie Fitch model at the store. So it's something that's really personal to me. Someone gave me a t-shirt when I was a teenager, and I was so ashamed to wear it because I just thought I was so different from the Abercrombie Fitch model. So I went to interview. I worked out for a month. I went to interview for the store model, and they said they would call me in a week. And then 1 week later, they did not call me. So I called them back and I said, did you lose my number? Maybe you couldn't read my number, right? and then they just said, no, we didn't call you, that's it. So I was determined to get this job because it was my teenage dream. So I worked out religiously for 6 months to become very muscular. And I actually live near the store, so every day I get off the minibus, it's right at the door. And I would look in, and I'd see these guys that are always more muscular than me. So what can I do? What can I do? 6 months, my other job is starting. I need to land this quickly. So I just thought, how can I make myself muscular when I'm not muscular? My idea, you can see it executed on the right a little bit. I was at home. I took all my t-shirts. I wore 8 of them at the same time. And then I wore coats. And I went in and I got the job. So yeah, so on the right-hand side, I think I'm wearing 4 t-shirts. I had to ask for 4 to pad myself. But Abercrombie & Fitch was a really a big turning point for me because I was able to detach myself from my past identity. Also, one really important thing in the interview is that you have to say the slogan at the bottom. It says, hey, what's going on? So every time a customer walks by, you say, hey, what's going on? To make the store seem more American. And the importance of this, it was the first time I realized that English is so important because at Abercrombie & Fitch, there are 2 jobs. One is called model, so you're at the storefront like this. And then the other job is called impact, where you are somewhere in the back. So I just realized that whether you become model or impact, it depends not only on the way you look, but how well you speak English. And so when you say this line and you say it while your English is good, you are presentable, then you work at the storefront as a model. And if your English is not good, if you cannot speak well, then you will be called an impact, and you will be at the back folding clothes. And so I realized that whether you are presentable and whether you speak English, it will determine whether or not you are the model or the impact, and that really has affected my tutoring job. And so, so when I pursued my passions, unexpected things happen. So my parents were really concerned that I was majoring in linguistics. They don't know what it is. It's not even English. So what are you going to do with it? So one day, the magazine called me, and this is Cecilia Charm on the left. She's talking with her 2 sons in broken English, and the magazine asked me, what do I think about her use of grammar? And so I told them, oh, she made a mistake in these 2 words, and then it became a cover story about how she's a negligent mom because she cannot speak English. On the right, I'm being interviewed by CNN about what students think about Donald Trump. So I never, 6 years ago when I graduated as a linguistics major, as one of my majors, I never thought that, 6 years later I would use this in such a way. But looking back, I was really happy that I just went for my interest, and life will work itself out if you do well enough and you persist long enough. So I want to talk about what passion is not because it's so easy to get confused between something nice and passion. So first of all, passion is definitely not prestige. Prestige is an illusion. It lives in the minds of other people, but not yourself. So always think about what you want and not what society tells you. Think about if no one cared about this thing, would you also care? And very often, the answer is no. Number two, prestige is not money. So at a certain point, when you start to make a certain amount of money, you don't want to work as hard if you don't like what you're doing. That's why people with a lot of money, they actually don't want the money because they just do it for fun, their job or their career. Number three, fame is also not passion. Those three are easy, but I have number four and number five are a little more difficult to understand. A hobby or an interest is not necessarily a passion. So for instance, playing video games all day long, it's fun, but it really isn't a passion. I'll tell you why later. And sometimes even an industry or a job is not really a passion. That's because I can be a teacher or a tutor. That's what I do. I go to class every day or 5 times a week, and do I like every moment of teaching? Honestly, no. But I enjoy it when my students send me a message saying, "Oh, because of your class, I was able to go to university, which was never possible before, or I was able to migrate with my family to Australia, or even I just never gave up because of you." Or sometimes people say, "Oh, I got a job at A&F," and I go take a picture with them. So passion is not these 5 things. Instead, what is it? So the importance of passion can be reflected in the education system when you apply to top universities everywhere in the world. They're looking for these few things. So this is for America, but it's the same everywhere. So at the bottom, there's your GPA, which is your school grades. You have your SAT and your AP or IGCSE scores, your exam scores. But after those qualitative factors, everything above is qualitative. So there's your activities, your interview, your recommendation, your essay. It's no longer about abilities or skills or talent. It's actually about why you choose to do something or what it means to you. And so everywhere you go, there's an abundance of ability, there's abundance of talent, but actually something that people lack is passion. And because the tournament or the competition is so intense that it's easy to forget what's important and meaningful to you. So the reason why it's important is that when there are a lot of students that come and say, "Oh, I have no passion," or the mom might say, "Oh, my child just likes to play computer games all day long," and what they think is that if I had passion, I have a magic potion, I drink it, and I'm suddenly interested, enthusiastic, determined, motivated. So on the left-hand side, it's the common but incorrect notion of passion, which is it's instant. And you get it, you dream about it, and suddenly you have the inspiration to be a successful person. But it's not like that. On the right-hand side is what I believe passion looks like a little more. It's over time, it's much longer. It comes in waves that get bigger and bigger and bigger every time. So you get something, you move away from it, you fail a little, and then it comes back bigger, and then it comes back bigger every time. It can be the same thing, it can be something different, it can build on your previous experiences. So passion is something sustainable over time. It's not necessarily an emotion, it's actually more like determination. But more specifically, when people say passion, they are thinking about interest or inspiration. It's actually not that at all. I think that passion is these 7 things. Number 1, you actually have to have interest in what you're doing, but you need 6 more things. Number 2, you need talent, right? Because if you're not good at it, then no one's going to value it. Number 3, you need to be determined to persevere throughout the adversities. Number 4, there needs to be a sufficient monetary award. If you're doing it for a career, you need to be able to pay your bills. Number 5, there needs to be significance beyond the individual level. So if you're doing it for yourself, it gets boring after a while. But if you're able to help and impact others, that is a passion. So number 6, you need courage because you have to say yes to new things, and you need to learn to say no to old things or the things that you don't want in your life anymore. And number 7 definitely takes time. It's not an instant thing. So how to pursue your passion? People say it. How do you do it? It's very simple, actually. I've boiled it down into 2 steps. Number 1, you have a list of things you can do. You eliminate them. So for me, I knew I didn't want to do finance, and then I knew I didn't want to be an investment banker, and I took these out one at a time. And so I took action on everything else. I studied several majors. You can just take some courses. And then the second thing, after I had one iteration, I tried again. So I went further down one path. I took some out that I didn't want, and then I just keep repeating. So in summary, for everyone in the audience who still hasn't found his or her passion yet, don't stop. It's not that difficult. Just stop dreaming, start doing, and you won't find your passion, because if you continue, your passion will find you. Thank you.